Hi guys, you're welcome to my channel today. Thank you all for stopping by on my space today. So today's tutorial is centrally going to be on how to draft a basic skirt with a pleated vent, just as you saw on the thumbnail. So I went ahead to cut out this fabric, which will be enough for the front part of my skirt. So before cutting this out, I went ahead to use the largest part of my skirt, which is the hip circumference, and I added extra 2 inches for allowance. So right here I started off by marking a line at the top area, and this is going to serve as my guide, and also the half inch at the top of this my piece is going to serve as a joining allowance. So the next thing I'm going to do is to start marking all my vertical measurements. Firstly, I'm going to subtract 2 inches, which is going to serve as my band, and just like this I got my hip of 9 inches, my knee length of 18 inches, and the next thing I went ahead to mark is my full skirt length of 38 inches, and I added extra 2 inches, which is going to serve as my hemming allowance. So I'm going to extend all these lines I made for it to be more visible right here. So after this, the next step I'll take is to get to my waistline. That is the line at the top of this my fabric. I'll divide my waist circumference into 4, and right there you can see that I have 9.5 inches. So I went ahead to make a mark right there, and I'll come to the second line, which is my hip line. I'll divide my hip into by 4, sorry, and I'll mark 11.5, which I got right there. So I'm going to use this my curved ruler to connect from my waist all the way to my hip line. So for my knee, I'm just going to measure what I have on my hip and subtract 1 inch from there. So you can see that I subtracted half of an inch, but you can also subtract 1 inch depending on how penciled you actually want your skirt to be. So having marked that and joined from my hip to my knee line, I'll move over to my full skirt length. I'll take the measurement of what I have on my knee, and I'm going to mark exactly the same thing on my full skirt length. Reason is because this skirt is not going to be penciled at all. So this is how I want it to be, because that's my client's preference. So guys, I'll go ahead now to cut out, I'm going ahead now firstly to take my dart. So to get my dart, I divided my nipple to nipple measurement of 8 inches into 2, and there I have 4 inches. Then from that part I came down by 4 inches as well, and I went ahead to connect these two lines together. So on that 4 inches I marked, I'm going to go out and come in at both sides by half of an inch, and when I'm done, I'm just going to connect it just exactly as you see me do right here. So the next thing I'm going to do is to replace this my dart which I took right here. So remember to always replace any dart taken. So I'm going to replace this dart and stop exactly on this my dart line, which is the line I extended lastly. Okay, so you can see how I went ahead to join this, and I've replaced my dart intake. So the next thing I'm simply going to do is to add 1 inch, which is going to serve as my stitching or sewing allowance. So you can use your free hand and connect this, or you can actually make use of your ruler. Okay, so by the time I take in my dart, this skirt is actually going to have a nicer shape. Reason is like this because I added my darts. So the next thing, I went ahead to cut out exactly the way I drafted on this my piece. So take note and also notch your dart area. So here is the back of this skirt. Before I go ahead to start drafting, I'm firstly going to mark 5 inches, and please don't forget that this my fabric is on fold. Okay, so firstly I'm going to mark 5 inches from the folded edge of my fabric. Please take note, and once I'm done marking, I'm going to use this my ruler and connect all of these marks I made right here. So guys, after this, the next thing I'm going to mark is my zip allowance of 1 inch. As you can see right here, I'm marking my zipper allowance of 1 inch. So after that, I'm just going to get my front skirt and place it exactly on the line just after my zip allowance. As you can see, I'm trying to use my hand to illustrate to you guys right here. So after getting this, after placing this, sorry, on this line, I'm just simply going to go ahead now to extend. Okay, before that, please, I'm sorry guys, from the half inch I'm going to come down by 5 inches from the waistline, and from that 5 inches, that is on my zip allowance area, from the 5 inches I'll come down again by 8 inches. So I'll go ahead now to slantly connect this way. So the essence of this is to create a butt curve. If you have been following me right here on my channel, you definitely understand what I'm doing right here. This gives a very perfect fit at the back of your dress or at the butt area of your dress. It gives it this curve. Okay, so it doesn't look visible even if you have a tiny butt. This will give it a perfect push up. Okay, so that is simply it. And the next I'll go ahead is to extend that my knee line on my front skirt to the back part of my skirt with my ruler, just like this. So after that, I went ahead to cut out the side and also the base of this my skirt. So I'll go on ahead now to remove the front part of my skirt to work on the back part. So from that my knee line which I marked, I extended from my back to skirt to the front, from my front skirt to the back skirt. I went ahead to go up by 1.5 inches, just as you see I marked right here. And the next thing I'm going to go ahead now is to cut this. So while cutting, please don't cut yet on your zipper allowance. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that, but firstly, cut out just exactly the same way I'm cutting out this way. So after that, now guys, I forgot that I remember that I forgot to take my back dart, which I just did right here. So now on that my zip area, I'm going to cut out exactly the way I marked all those lines. So I'm going to stop exactly on this line right here, so you don't have to extend it up to your knee level. You're going to stop exactly on this line which I came up by 1.5 inches from my knee line. So having done this, the next thing I'm proceed to do is to cut out on my lining piece. So both the front part and the back part of my skirt, I'm going to cut out on my lining piece. And this is the lining I'm working with, is black in color, as you can see right here. So I'll first of all go ahead and fold my lining into two and place the back part of this my skirt on it like this, and I'm going to cut exactly the same way it is on my fabric. So guys, after cutting all of these, my camera didn't capture that part well, but all you're simply going to do right here is to stitch all around this skirt. You're going to stitch all around using your lining piece, but you're not going to stitch the waist part open. Don't worry, by the time I do this and I show you, you understand what I mean. So stitch the sides, stitch everywhere excluding the waist area. Okay, so I'll do all of that for both the front and the back, and I'll show you how I'm going to turn this over. So I've gone ahead to stitch that. You can see what I mean. So here is for the front and the back. So this is for the back. If you should look properly, you realize that I stitched all the parts. So you're going to make sure that your fabric is facing the lining, so by the time you turn, it's going to actually be at the right side. So while sewing this, make sure that the right side of your lining is the right side of your fabric, sorry, is facing your lining piece. So that's all I simply did right here. So I'll go ahead now to iron all of this out to be flat. And please, while cutting on your lining, when you get to the full length of your skirt, you're actually going to reduce the actual length by 1 inch on your lining, so that by the time you are done hemming, the part of your fabric is going to go inward just as the same thing I did right here. So I'm going to show you what I mean. Make sure that you reduce your lining by 1 inch. The length of my skirt is 38 inches plus 2 inches for hemming, which is 40 inches, but I made my lining 39 inches. So if you do that, this is exactly what you're going to get. Okay, so you can see that I have part of the fabric going inside the skirt part. So that is all, guys, for it. And the next thing I'm going to go ahead now to do is to work for the back pleated vent area. So I went ahead to bring this skirt together like this, and I'm going to make sure that it fits and it perfectly aligns together at the side. So after this, I'll start by marking half of an inch from that point. So this half of an inch is going to be my guide, because I'm going to stitch all the way from that half of an inch to the hem or the base of this my skirt. So just run a straight stitch across all the way to the base of this skirt. So guys, you can see that I've gone ahead to do just that, and you can see how it looks like. So the next thing, I'm going to open this up to face the camera. I'll spread this out now, open for you all to see how to place this actually. So you're going to spread it out to make sure that it equals at both sides. Okay, so the next thing I'm just simply going to do is to use my tape and mark 1 inch. You can decide to mark 1.5 inch or 1 inch, but I went ahead to mark 1 inch. So I'll mark 1 inch, and from there I'm going to pleat. So just watch exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to pleat about 1 inch. By the time I'll take this to one side, I spread this out to ensure that it's balanced accurately, and I had to shift it to one side, and I'll go ahead now and mark just 1 inch, just like this, and I'll fold in that 1 inch. Okay, so while doing this, please ensure that the parts which is connected to your zipper area, you pin it open, okay, not closed. So you understand what I mean if you're watching this video very well, because I believe that everything I'm doing right here is very clear. So you're going to pleat by another 1 inch. So just carefully watch how I'm doing this. And I also have that my zipper area of half an inch open, so it's not closed. Okay, so after doing for the other side, I want it to balance at both sides. So I went ahead to also pleat for the right side of this my vent. So I'm going to make sure I pin this first before stitching and ironing. So guys, please just watch carefully. I don't know if my explanation is not clear enough, but if you're actually watching what I'm doing right here, there is no way you will not understand, please. So this is what I just did. I make sure that the half inch, that is the zipper area part, is open and not closed, as you can see right there how open this my own is. Okay, so I'll take this now right to my sewing machine. So I'm going to show you guys how you're going to stitch this. So this is it. After pinning, this is what I have. It's not yet relaxed because I'm yet to iron it. So what I'm simply going to do now is to get one part of this pinned part of this my vent, I'm going to make sure that these pleats I made doesn't stick with my skirt. So meaning that I'm going to push my skirt underneath, like I'm going to shift it one side, and I'm just going to stitch only on this pleat up to the center of that my zipper area. So if you can understand what I'm doing right here, you can see that I shifted my skirt to one side, and I'm just going to only stitch on top of this my pleats. So you can see that I have nothing under it. I have nothing under this my pleat, under this my pleat. So I will just stitch this and stop at the middle, exactly at the middle. That's the joining part of those of that my half of an inch. Guys, I don't know which other way to explain this for you to understand better, but just carefully watch what I'm doing, and there is absolutely no way we are not going to get it right. So you can see I stopped exactly at that middle point. I didn't exceed this. Yeah, so because you're not meant to stitch this piece together with your skirt. So you can see, if you have a proper look, you can see what I did. And I'm also going to repeat the same thing for the other side of my pleat, thereby shifting my skirt to one side, and also going ahead to also stitch this from the middle all the way to the other end of my pleat. So guys, just watch carefully what I'm doing, please. I believe you must understand, even if my explanation is not really clear and understandable. So after this, I remove all these pins and go ahead and iron this flat. Please, while ironing this, make sure you pour water on this so it gets very flat. So the next thing, I'm going to flip this to the right side of my fabric for you to see what it looks like. So go on ahead now and use your razor and lose that center part. So I forgot to tell you earlier that while stitching these parts, you're going to make use of a gather stitch. Please, apologies for not saying this earlier, so that it doesn't get rough while you're losing it. Okay, so that's what I did here, and you can see that I've loosed it and I already have my pleat looking all nice. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to fix my band to this to this skirt. Sorry guys. So I folded this into two, and I went ahead to take the measurement of my waist I have right here. So everything I have right here is 11 inches, and I'll go ahead now to cut this out on this other piece of fabric I have here to get my band. So I'm just simply going to mark 11 inches plus extra 2 inches, which is going to serve as an allowance. Hence, if there is any excesses, I'll just go on ahead to trim it off. Okay, so there is no cause for alarm. So for the height of this band, for the wideness is going to be 2 inches, and I'm going to cut this on fold just like this. So since I'm making use of a band of 2 inches, that literally means that I'm going to cut 2.5 inches right here. That's what I'm going to mark out and cut out as well. So by the time I'm done stitching and fixing my band, it will come to 2 inches. So guys, this is what I did, and from the midpoint, from the folded part, you are going to actually slant this by 1/4 inch, just the way you see me do right here. But you are not really going to slant it up to the edge of the other part of your fabric. Okay, so we're going to slant this because our waist is a bit slanty, it is not straight. So I'll go ahead now and cut out 2 pieces of this for the front, and for the back I'll be having 4 pieces of this because I'll be opening it at the center part. So these two are for the front, so this next one I'm going to cut out now will be for the back. So guys, please, as you're doing this, just take your time. Do note that the part where you cut out quarter of an inch always stays at the front, like more like at the middle, at the center of your skirt. Okay, so you're going to also take note of this while cutting as well. For the back, each after cutting out each one, I'm going to split it. So you can see that I went ahead to split it into two because of the zipper we have, but the one for the front is just long and straight. So I'll fold my front skirt together and I'm going to notch the middle point, and I'll also repeat the same thing for my band. So I'm going to make sure that the part that I removed quarter of an inch from is facing my fabric, so the straight part is on my waist. I don't know if you understand. So while placing for the back too, I'll do the same thing. The straight part will be on my waist, while the curved part is going to be at the top. Is not going to be pinned to my waist. Let me just use this, I think it's preferable. So after joining this, I went ahead to also fix my zipper to this, and you can see that I'm going ahead now to cut off these excesses I have at the side. So the next thing is to also join, because I joined using 1 inch, which was the sewing allowance I left for this my dress. So by the time you join all of this individually, I mean the band, you go ahead and join them at both sides using 1 inch, which we gave this as an allowance, as a stitching allowance. So you can see that this band is a bit curvy, so that's the essence. Okay, so I went ahead to zip down my zip a bit and I cut out the excesses because I actually used the long zip. So back to fixing the remaining band left, I am going to use this band now to cover up my zipper and also stitch the top area, but just watch carefully so you can understand everything I'm doing right here. So this is how you should place this. Right side facing your band, you're going to place this like this. You're going to do it for both the front and both for the back. So now on my sewing machine, I'm going to show you guys how to stitch this. So here now, this part I'm stitching is the top part where I pinned. So you're going to stitch using quarter of an inch. It shouldn't exceed quarter of an inch. So guys, this is it. After joining this individually, you're going to get the two ends of the band and also join them. So you notice that you can see from the one I'm doing right here that is long. So this is how you join the two at the sides and cut off the excesses. So you do it for the both sides, and when you get to the zipper area, you're going to flip this. You're going to flip this. I don't know how. Okay, you're going to flip this. You can see you can see how it is. So you're going to make sure that the two right sides of the band are facing each other just like this to cover up the top part of the zip. So you're going to stitch the side, but you're not going to stitch up to the end of the band. You're going to leave like half of an inch, which is going to be for folding in. Okay, maybe I have to make a separate detailed tutorial on how to fix or attach a band to your skirt or to your trouser. I think that would be better, guys. So you're just going to stitch this way for the zipper part, and I'm going to repeat the same thing for the both part of the zip. So you can see what I have right here now. So this was the little explanation I was trying to give. It was a bit hard or difficult to give, but I believe that we understand. So after this, you can see how nice and neat this is looking, and the two band aligns properly. So I'll flip this back to the back part, and that half of an inch which was left, I'm going to fold it in. So I'm folding it in just like this, and I'm going to stitch all the way around this my band. So I'm just going to stitch at the tip of the fold I have right here. So this is what you continue doing, and when you are done stitching this, you're going to achieve a very neat and perfect finishing. And I forgot to add as well, you can iron in your hairstay to your band before fixing it to your skirt or your trouser. So that is all, guys, and I'll show you the final look and outcome of this beautiful skirt. So you can see the pleated vents we have here. You can see how nice these pleats came out. And guys, don't forget to iron this very well, like I said. And you can see how this is so perfect. This is so beautiful, guys, trust me. And also for the band of this skirt, you can see that it is looking so perfect. Ignore the paper still at the back of this my fabric. I will remove it using an iron, a very hot iron. So you can see that the inside of this our band looks very neat. Thank you all for watching, and God bless you all. And please kindly subscribe to this channel if you've come this far watching and you're yet to subscribe. Happy new month, guys. I wish you the best of the best in these remaining days of 2023. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate. And to all my new viewers, please don't forget to subscribe as well. Love you all. Bye.